Are you looking to level up your author business?
Are you pounding your head against a wall, wondering what your next step should be? Then join me, Daniel Wilcox.
And me, Sacha Black, as we haul ass each week in a bid to level up.
Level up!
Come along for the ride as we delve deep into the business of writing,
Craft,
entrepreneurship,
and every level of the author journey. This is the Next Level Author Podcast.
Hello, Achievers. This is episode 99 of the Next Level Author Podcast, a podcast where we hold each other to account and track our step-by-step progress as we level up our author business. My name is Sacha Black, and here with me every fucking week is...
Daniel motherfucking Wilcox.
Can you hear that?
No.
The fucking heavens just opened and just unleashed a roaring rain pour down on me that, like, I don't know how my mic is not picking that up, but
it's impressive that it's not. I mean, it's glorious sunshine here and I'm not too far from you, so I'm
no,
pretty
you're
sure.
not.
Well, look, like if I open this anyway, you cannot see me. It's blinding out there. Like I am literally experiencing, I guess, the rapture as the holy light comes down and attacks me and claims me for all its glorious good.
So I totally think you need branded curtains.
Oh, I'm working on it.
Are you? I was going to say, like, I really feel strongly that you need branded curtains.
Like, I this is temporary because there's 1,000 other things I need to prioritize for the house. But like, one of the things I will say, this was actually going to be my thing that I enjoyed. But I'm just going to throw it out there in a minute.
Branded curtains aren't a priority.
No, not at all. So one thing that I did buy this week, which has made me more happy than I think it should for the item that it was, I bought a plug for my sink. And I'm so happy with it. So for context, wow. I moved in and my bathroom sink.
When did we get to like plugs and hoovers being like exciting?
Well, my bathroom sink, it didn't have like, it has a hole and like you can put a plug in, but it didn't have like, do you know, like the kind of like strain guard type thing. So, you know, there was a couple of moments over the past few months where I've dropped something small and it kind of circled a drain and I had to grab it before it went down the U-bend. And I was like, I don't know how to fix this. So I managed to I measured it. Went on Amazon at the weekend and found this thing that supposedly...
Are you still talking about the plug for the sink? Because I was somewhere else in my brain.
So it supposedly just drops in, sits in there, and it's one of these plugs that you can then like push and the little thing springs open and off. And
that was a cool story, bro.
Shall we move on? Let me finish. This is one of the highlights of my week. And yeah, I dropped it in. It worked first time, and now I don't have the fear of losing anything down the sink. So, you know, small wins, they pile up.
So in my head, I just revisited Gran Canaria.
Oh, you do that because I'm having the time of my life
with your sink things. Anyway, how's your week been? Other than joyous plugs that you have been purchasing.
Plugging holes, and that's not a euphemism. It's been a week. I'm at the point now where I don't want to say weird week because we do say it so much. So it's half term in the UK, or at least for my child. And
it is for mine as well.
Yeah. And obviously, like people who listen to this regularly, last week I mentioned that I'd kind of hit a bit of a wall and burnout and everything else, which doesn't come at a great time.
How's that?
Well, yeah, I'll get there. Because it kind of all links together. But it's not a great time to have it when you hit half term and you've got a kid and you also have like work piling up that you can't quite get to. So I have basically just been incredibly as kind to myself as possible, taking every spare moment that I have to try and find something that will give me downtime while also trying to keep on top of things. So I found a few moments where I've managed to get work done and I've sort of been inspired to do it. But for the most part, my mind at the minute is in just take the fucking week and rest and like catch up next week as much as you can, because there's no point just trawling through the sludge. So, I mean, in many ways, I'm getting there. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. It's another one of those where I've been kind of like forced into rest. But I had a day this week in which I visited a bunch of my old journals. And weirdly enough, obviously this theme is recurring and has been for like 4 or 5 years beyond that. Listening to old episodes of our podcast, it's been a theme that, you know, comes up and down a lot. So I'm kind of really trying to, like, I'm one of those people, I get really annoyed when people keep saying a thing that they're not doing, that they should be doing. And they tell you for like years. So like, okay. You're confused.
It was like I was replaying what you were saying. You get really annoyed when people tell you a thing that they're not doing, but that they should be doing. Is that what you said?
Yes. Okay. When people are like for years, I need to lose weight, or I need to like read more. and they just don't, and they tell you this for years, and that really, really irks me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that person to myself. So I have basically taken all of my journals over the past 5 years of productivity planners, 6-minute diaries, all these different templates and things. And I'm trying to find patterns to find, what has worked and when and how. On top of that, as I was just saying before we started recording, is I have had a bunch of discovery calls this week with various different coaches. So like life coaches, mindset coaches, success coaches, business coaches. And I may have rounded it down to a coach that I genuinely, like from my gut, believe could help. The downside, I say downside of that, the friction point comes in that it comes with quite an upfront heavy investment cost. But it's one of those things where, like, if it pans out, I will recuperate that back sort of by the end of the year easy. But it's really bizarre because I'm now in this sort of quandary in my head of, I know that in order to level up, I need to invest in myself. And I'm trying to, because I'm, very proactive in saying yes to stuff and just cracking ahead and doing things.
Activator.
I'm trying my best to heed advice from former coaches and just say, like, okay, you're excited about this, but do your due diligence, because obviously this is quite a hefty financial investment. And I'm definitely at this point erring towards accepting, but at the same time, I'm still allowing just a grace period.
Is it more than the coach that you were going to invest in before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it totals. So this program, the interesting thing about this program, and I'll give people numbers so they've got an idea of what it is, but in total, it's £4,500. It's an upfront cost of £900. And then there are several different payment plans on how to pay off the rest of it. But the great thing that I really like about this program is once you've paid off that cost, you have access to the entire thing for life. So you then don't have to, like, it's not so much, you can use it seasonally, obviously, as much and as when you need it. But it is, it's hefty. So that's my week. That's what I'm trying to figure out is, I think I've reached a point of accepting that I can't, I'm always wary of saying this. I can continue doing this as I am, but I'm in a position where I want to accept help in order to level up quicker and to overcome the things that I'm definitely, like, instead of breaking through walls, I want someone to provide that path to help me get over them. How's your week been?
Fucking nightmare. Yeah. So this is half-term week, and my mum took Atlas on Monday just before lunch.
With permission.
Yeah. And so she's having him until Friday, just after lunch. So it's about 4.5 days. And in those 4.5 days, I would say I've got maybe 3/4 of one working day of time to work because of all of the nightmare that has gone on. I'm really trying not to be bitter, but like, this was my week to catch up. Like, this week I was supposed to get all of the launch stuff done for the 3 launches so that next week I could start writing. And I don't normally do like bitter or resentful. I just find ways around the issues. I work harder, I work longer. And I'm really quite pissed off this week because I cannot tell you the number of interruptions I've had. We were supposed to have the internet put in on Tuesday, and they turned up, they put it in, and then the connection boxes weren't working. And so, but they were late. So it was already too late by the time they were installing it for them to phone head office to get someone out to fix it. And then when I phoned head office on Wednesday, they were like, oh, yeah, we can't get anyone out till Friday. And I was like, no, that's not good enough. So I literally went nuclear on them. I was on the phone for an hour and 15 minutes, literally tearing assholes, because I had to cancel 4 phone meetings that needed recording. I've got a patron session tonight that I now cannot host. Somebody else is going to have to host it, and they've like had to pay something for something that we're supposed to be doing. I had like everywhere I went to try and work, something broke. I had emails, my email system broke. I had like interruptions from family. I had it, like, literally there's no point going into all the detail, but I never ever ever resent anybody or anything. Like I deal with helping family or friends or whatever, and this week was my fucking week, and I'm actually really quite pissed off because my son comes back tomorrow, and like I love him, I want him back, but also I don't, because I'm not fucking done. I'm not even, like, I've crossed out like 3 fucking things on my post-it. Do you know where's my audio gone?
I've still got it.
Oh, well, now I've got you. It's because I've pulled my headphone jack out. Yeah, so I've had, honestly, really not a great week. And there have been some other things that have happened that have been really great. So, trying to take the positives out of it. But I'm really fucked off, like really, really fucked off. And I don't normally get like this. And it's because I am trying so hard to shut down projects so that I can open new projects. And it's going to be yet another week before I'm going to be able to do that. And that's not okay. I am not okay with that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm cross this week.
Sounds like you need a quality new plug to bring a bit of joy into your life. I will send you a picture, a video. I will TikTok it.
You're a knob.
Hey, I'm telling you, that's where I'm drawing my joy from this week.
So level up. Do we have a level up?
We do have a level up. We have a level up this week from Breasty Blackthorn, who says, last year I was hopeful, family circumstances got in the way. This year, 2nd to 3rd of January, I had one of those breakthrough moments that you talked about. Something mentally clicked that said, I am an author, not just a writer, and I will publish this year. I now have goals, an ambitious plan, I don't do small, and I am moving forward. I have done more in the last 20 days than I did in the last 9 months of 2021.
I don't know if it's because I'm streaming off my iPad's Wi-Fi, my iPad's 4G, but it definitely sounded like you said Breasty Blackthorn.
D.
Yeah, it is. You did it again. Something doesn't like the S. The S that you're saying, yeah.
Well, hopefully, because it's recording on my side, that should be clear. But otherwise, it's Sierra Delta Blackthorn.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's like that mindset shift is just—it's powerful, man. Once that for me is accepting that you're in this for the long haul.
Yeah.
And that you're this is what you do. This is who you are. So keep pushing on that journey. I love it.
Okay, level up.
We just
did that. Patreon. Fuck's sake.
That plug's looking better and better. So we have no new patrons this week, but for anyone that wants to get involved, and we are recording our episode 100 next Sunday live and streaming that into the Facebook group, but patrons can join us on the call and ask questions and chat and join in all the festivities. Then head on over to patreon.com/nextlevelauthors.
Yes. Do you have any notices, darling?
Just the Activated Authors podcast officially dropped its first episode this week. So I interviewed Jonathan Yanez and spoke to him all about motivation and how he gets stuff done and films and books. And like I'm getting really, really good feedback off the podcast. So it's quite nice after taking quite a considerable break into the interview sphere to know that it's still bringing people value and people are getting some stuff from it. So if you haven't yet, subscribe to the Activated Authors podcast.
Excellent. And my audiobook 13 Steps to Evil is still on 50% discount for the whole of February. If you can buy it direct from me on sashablack.co.uk and use the code FAB50 and you'll get 50% off. Okay, thing of the week. What have you enjoyed?
So the one thing I haven't enjoyed is that my sleep is still all over the place, and I ended up waking at like 5:30 this morning. But I woke up at 5:30, and I then sat in bed reading Will Smith's book Will, which I've been working on for the last week. I've been sharing tidbits of info that I found useful with my community. But I finished the book this morning, and like it's just right down my alley. Like, it's about journey, it's about hardship, it's about transformation, it's about acceptance, it's about like and when you see behind the curtain of like massive global superstars, like I love the fact that even in their journey, I can see stuff in people's journeys who have yet to like publish a book, like just the actual humanity behind it all and the actual experience and arc that people go through is similar no matter what level of success you're at. So it's, for me, really gratifying to read that and to see those similarities in that journey. And the book was delivered in such a way that I love Will Smith, and I'm a big fan of like a lot of what he does. But there got points in that book where I was like, I don't like you. And I think that's intentional to the narrative. Like, it obviously flips it around at the end, but like it shows, the truth behind the curtain. And I think that is one of the most powerful things you can give people, is the truth, and obviously that's part of the reason why we started this podcast, to show people, the highs and the lows of behind the curtain of our businesses, rather than just what people see on the surface. So yeah, it's a big book. It's a fantastic book. For people who are fans of Will, pick it up. For people who aren't, you will still get something from it. So yeah, that's mine. How about you?
Awesome. Two things. I had my nails done this week, and they're really, it's like a magnet. They used a magnet to make like these shapes on my nails, which was kind of cool.
For the record, this is the equivalent of the plug for you, but for me. So you continue talking.
No, that is it. That was my story. That's how succinct I can be in my writing. I mean, my talking. And then the other thing that I enjoyed, right? I have a love-hate relationship, but I read The Hating Game this week because this is the Rebel Reader Masterclass book. Well, actually, we're doing two books. They're both kind of enemies to lovers. This one was a contemporary romance. So this is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, and the other one was Sweet and Bitter Magic by Adrian Tooley. Oh my God. I feel strongly that I shouldn't have enjoyed this book. I really did.
Why shouldn't you have?
There were so for listeners, this is basically two work colleagues working in a publishing house, and there's a big job that they're going for, and they hate each other. And obviously it's a romance book, so it's enemies to lovers. And I loved the banter. I loved that they were really competitive with each other, but I really didn't like the representation of competition in there. I didn't like how the author did it. I feel like the author probably doesn't have competition, because it's not it was competition. It was competitive with a small c, as opposed to competition, the strength. So that was the first thing that annoyed me. The second thing, I do think that some readers might be triggered in here. The male character was quite controlling in a way that made me uncomfortable. And of course, there in lots of these very popular romances, there are unhealthy relationship strands in them. Now, I have actually pulled apart how she got away with that, in terms of how is he still so how can you still empathize and sympathize and connect with him as the character when there are those elements in there? So I'll be talking about that in the class, which was very interesting to me. And there are just some things about hetero relationships that it irk me. But despite that, the banter, the romance, I just loved it. I was swooning, I was shipping them. It was compulsive as well. I did not want to put this book down. So yeah, I am recommending The Hating Game this week because it was fucking good. I can see why it's a movie and has sold a bajillion copies.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So okay, comments.
Yes. So the question last week, what would this look like if it were easy? And we have a few from our patrons. So SW Miller says, I would outline. Someone would do all of my first drafting for me. Then I would do all the self-editing.
Interesting.
Janelle says, thank you so much for this conversation. I loved it, particularly hearing about the mindset journey Sacha has been on. I remember a couple of years ago, a coach telling me that it's our thoughts that create our feelings and we can change our thoughts, paraphrasing. At first, I wanted to protest. It can't be that straightforward, but I now believe it's true, and this notion has changed my life. It's like a muscle you need to keep exercising 100%. Some days it's much more difficult to change our thoughts, or we might not want to, but this can be easy is a great one to practice, I think. To use a completely non-creative example, I'm in the process of moving house. I said to my coach, obviously it's going to be super stressful because we all get told that moving house is one of the most stressful things in life. She challenged me, does it have to be stressful? And this one question changed my whole perception. Anywho, thanks Dan and Sacha, great convo as ever, even the tits and the badge parts. Hope your feeling of burnout is temporary and you can build in some recuperation. And then one more on Patreon as well from Emma, who says, I agree with you that we should make the chores in our lives as easy as possible, which is why my cooking for myself is reduced to the strict minimum and I own a robot vacuum cleaner. I don't have precious hours of my life to waste on that. On the other hand, for the things in my life that I want to accomplish, I don't think I want them to be easy, but I also don't want them to be hard. I want to find that sweet spot in the middle where things are challenging and where growth happens. And right now, everything I do with my writing, trying to publish nonfiction and build a small business around it, is exactly that. For me, the right blend of challenging is linked to strengths. Easy is when my strengths are firmly in their comfort zone. Challenging is when I'm pushing them towards new balconies. And hard is when something repeatedly goes against one of them.
Is that all of them? There was nothing on Facebook?
There might have been. That was quite a few comments, though.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool. I'm with you. It's fine.
I mean, we love when you put in comments, but we can't spend the whole episode reading out the comments.
Well, why not? No.
Just do a massive comment episode once every month.
Yeah. So that's the question of the week now, isn't it? I feel like this has gone really fast this morning.
Efficient on it.
Yeah.
I think you're eager to get back to the millions of things you haven't yet done.
Yeah, there is that. Okay, so this question, I don't know whether to let you answer it in one way or another, because you can answer it in 2 different ways, or make you answer both. I think I'm going to make you answer both just for shits and giggles. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is your relationship with romance? And so I want you to answer that. In terms of writing and life, because I'm a bitch. I'm so evil. But it's Valentine's week. How can I not ask this question?
I mean, yeah. I'm just trying to figure out how to answer this, because, like, in all honesty, it's a question that I do massively struggle with. So we'll start with writing, because that will likely probably be a bit shorter and a bit easier. So, in writing, I will say I don't really write romantic books. I think that's kind of a given. But there is always an element of romance somewhere in the book, because I understand how that is, a core part of being human. And, my thoughts and feelings, and which we'll dive into a little bit, aren't necessarily reflective of the majority of people that I know. So, like, there are a few things in life that are fundamental, that are big, that, shift how people think and how people approach life. And, some of those are how people view death. Some of those are how people view life. Some of those is, work ethic. And, I think love is obviously a big part of that as well. I grew up in a very nuclear family. My parents are still together. They love each other. They're celebrating, I don't know, must be like 30 years or something together soon. Oh
my God, that's amazing.
It's wonderful. And so within writing, there are always those strands of relationships within certain characters. When Winter Comes, that's not a good example. One of the guys in When Winter Comes, there is a romantic relationship that forms between one of the male characters and one of the female characters. And it's not anything I've really thought about, but most of the time it ends up being that the characters, this is a tricky one to just launch, because trying to formalize my thoughts on this.
I'm sorry, I know. I can't. You're lucky I didn't go with just non-writing. Yeah. Would you want me to go first? No, I'm good. It's just kind of, I'm sure the listeners will appreciate me stumbling through it. There tends to be a leniency away from traditional romantic structures in my book. So if people are in a relationship, often they'll start in what I quote a traditional, and that sense has many different terms, but they'll start in that format, and then they'll find their own way that is outside of the norms. So 2 of the characters in When Winter Comes end up coming together through hardship, and they're a very, very unlikely pairing, and even the relationship they have at the end is very unlikely and strange. I try to keep realism within a lot of the books, in a lot of the side characters, but thinking about it, there aren't really any storylines that I have that are hardcore focused on the romance. Oh my God, I'm saying that, and that's not true. Like, even one of them, because there's multiple main characters in When Winter Comes, and even like the 15-year-old kid is kind of led by love and attraction throughout the book. In 99 episodes, I have never seen you this uncomfortable.
It's not. No. So here's the thing. I'm not uncomfortable discussing this. I'm just really trying to process it.
Because, but that's what I mean. I've thrown you. I've thrown you. That's what I mean. In 99 episodes, I've never seen you thrown.
Yeah. No, it's because I'm thinking out loud. So, all right, I'm gonna go back a little bit, and I'm gonna actually answer your side of the question, because I think that will kind of give a bit more light to my situation. And I'll say up front that some of this may be vague, because I'm careful to protect people who I've been involved with that don't need to be a part of this conversation or this narrative.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah, and I'm not that I didn't ask for.
No.
Like, I know. Yeah, that is a given.
Yeah, but so my relationship with love and romance centers on.
You can't even say the word.
On her. No, it centers on. I don't know which direction to go with this.
Just start talking and don't stop.
I have two definitions of love.
Okay.
One love is a universal appreciation and admiration and connection with someone else in my life that in some way brings me value. I bring them value. Like, there's a connection. So I love my sister. I love my friends. Like one of my best friends, Lewis, we sign off on the phone by saying, I love you, because genuinely, like, I feel like life is too short to not show someone that you really, truly appreciate them, especially in those moments where, you know, it's there and you're happy and you feel that connection with someone else and you truly deeply appreciate the fact that they're there.
My wife does that too with all her friends. Yeah.
And I see no like problem with that at all. Like, I think it's powerful, and I don't want to shy away from saying I love you just for the sake of like people crossing it with sort of romantic intent. My family, obviously, like there's a deep familial love there because of, you know, blood and bonding and lineage and like growing up. So that's kind of like one definition of love, and I'll spray out to people that I love them, that I appreciate them, and like there's just that deep connection. Like you would leave a hole in my life if you weren't there. I love you. Like that's just there. On the romantic side of things, my journey with love has been, I guess, incredibly rocky. So past relationships, and it's only a thing that I've kind of worked out over the last couple of years, but many of my previous relationships, because I grew up basically as a Disney kid. I wanted to get married at 16. I wanted to have a kid early. I wanted to have them have kids early. I wanted to be like a great grandfather while I was alive. Like the idea of all of that. You know, it's movie love, it's book love, it's like, you know, what kind of the traditional narrative is, especially in Western culture, on what love should be. My parents reinforced that, my grandparents reinforced that. That was just like what I expected it to be. 14 years old, heartbreak. 18 years old, heartbreak. 27 years old, heartbreak. Like, for multiple different reasons. And again, I'm trying, because we promise to always be transparent. I'm trying to be like as transparent without like being too specific on certain situations. But the most of what I ended up learning from my parents was that in romance and in love and in relationships, man is giver, man must bend over backwards, man is unbreaking, man must provide at all costs. So I went into a journey with relationships in which I sacrificed every part of me to bend over to please the other person, which then led to
sorry,
I'm not gymnastic.
Over, please.
I am not gymnastic. I failed my contortionary exams. But because of that and the way that things worked out, that then meant for other people that they expected that of me, and that became a suffocating feature of the relationship. So over the years, I've done a lot of self-work in, you know, and this reflects in my just normal relationships with friends and things as well, how I like view the world. But like I've done a lot of self-work on dynamics in relationships, sort of expectancies, learning to love yourself almost before like you can then give back to other people, being happy on your own, all that kind of stuff. It's been a very long, arduous journey, but it's been a very powerful journey, because I have seen friends go from relationship to relationship, be single for like 5 days, back into a relationship, and they're never happy and things never quite work out. Yeah, it's mental. And the most powerful transformations I've seen from people is when they allow themselves to be by themselves, to learn themselves, and to understand themselves in a way that for me personally, and again, I don't want this to come across in any way like I'm preaching or that other people are doing anything wrong. This is just my truth. But one of the most powerful lessons I learned is that if I enter into a relationship, I'm going to be okay if that relationship ends, because I am enough. And that has transformed in many ways every relationship in my life. Like, I no longer need my mum. I want my mum. Like, in past relationships, I got to a point where I was like, and this was massively misinterpreted, and I can kind of see where it came from, in hindsight. But I've said to people, I don't need you, but I want you. And for me, that's much more powerful, because to want is so much healthier than to need. And so I guess, rounding some of this out, and I'm sure we might dig in further, but like my relationship with love and romance is not the norm. It's highly untraditional. I try to speak to my friends about it based off of, their relationships and how I view the world. And they're very different conversations. They're healthy conversations, but they're very different conversations. Because I don't want to preach. I don't want to dive too deep into certain aspects of this, but for anyone who is interested in understanding how the rest of the world works in romantic relationships and the other options that there are, I would highly recommend looking up a woman called Esther Perel, who is a global psychologist for couples and has spent her life understanding couples from all different continents. She has a book called Mating in Captivity. She has a podcast on Audible. She did one of the most transformative interviews on the Tim Ferriss podcast that I have ever listened to the point that he has aired that twice in the last 3 years, not just for me, but because it's a fucking amazing interview. And I think the importance for me, and it expands to everything else in my life, is understanding that there's more than one way, and your way may be different, but that's okay. And so in my writing, I think that is ultimately the goal that comes from the love and the romance of those characters. They may start in that traditional sort of sense, but then things transform and become different. But it's not something that I feel that I need in my life. It's something that I like. If it occurs, it's something in which, based off of past relationships, I am very, very aware of my boundaries now. And if, I am to leap over and take that step with someone, it would be a case of ensuring that boundaries are met, that everything is clarified, that like there is an understanding. Because one thing that I've always hated is when people get into relationships, there's a period of acting. There's a period of wearing a mask, at least in like a lot of people that I've observed, in which you go on dates and you present your best self for 3-6 months. You get into a position in which you then get comfortable with who that person is that's presented, and then people can change and slip back, and suddenly the things so like a perfect example of this, and I won't name names, but I know someone who on a first date with someone else, the guy said, "Oh, what kind of things are you into?" And she was like, "What are you into?" And he said, "Oh, I'm a big football fan." And she went, "I love football." She doesn't watch football. She fucking hates football. She detests it. But that's how it starts. Like that was how the relationship started. And like
I've never done that.
No, well, that's
I'm not like that, but I know you're on the flow, but like I can't do that. Like I am incapable of doing that.
I would say 70% of people I know have
so much so that my old corporate director literally pulled me aside and was like, you don't play the game, do you? And I was like, what do you mean? Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, you talk to me exactly the same in the pub as you do at work. And I was like, well, yeah, because I'm the same person. And so yeah, like I don't understand why people do that. I don't know what that is, because that's not something that I do. So like that's really weird to me. Like why would you want to tell someone something that's not true about yourself? And then like if they don't like you for the things that you like, fuck them off.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Anyway,
I've been in like, and speaking from personal experience, I've been in many situations in the last sort of decade or so in which I have courted, sort of gone down the path of
courted. How old are you?
I'm trying to keep it PG. Of being in a situation with a woman in which I've basically laid my cards on the table and said, this is who I am, like it or like, if you like that, let's carry on. If not, then don't. And then a few weeks down the line, when I've stuck to and I've started doing the things that I said I'm going to do, they've pulled back and gone, well, hold on, like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, I told you, like, this is who I am. Like, there's no bullshit. This is who I am. Oh, I thought you were just like saying that. No. Why would I start on a falsity? Like it's, and I'm bringing this around to, business and marketing, because weirdly, these things are related. Like, it's the same as when you're selling something, you don't want to attract everyone. You want to attract the right people. So the fact that these people didn't like what was being offered, fine, like I'm okay with that, because I know who I am. Like, go find what it is that you want, but I'm not going to pretend and put myself in a situation in which I'm not being 100% me, because that's poisonous to myself. And yeah, so I don't know if there's anything tangible in there to take away, but suffice to say that, like, romance, there's always an anchor of romance in what I write, because you can't get away from it. It's a universality of life, but it's definitely clearly not at the front of my conscious thinking when it comes to writing a book.
Very interesting.
There's a lot there to unpack.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start with that. I think the thing that I love more than anything is that I threw you a curveball, and there was
right before episode 100.
Yeah. Well, someone had to do it at one point.
Well, because sorry, and I'll let you go. But it is that thing of, like, I'm still in the position in which I understand that how I view romance and love isn't traditional, and some of my opinions may be jarring and sort of, like, frictiony to some people. But at the same time, this is my truth. This is my life. This is how I think.
I don't know that you've said anything that's jarring, but maybe that's because I'm not very traditional.
And also, I think we've had conversations before about this.
Yeah.
So you're probably a bit more prepared.
Yeah. No, but I don't think any of the things that might be considered wildly controversial, I don't think you've mentioned any of them. So I don't think you're going to come across like...
Again, we come from a very different background to a lot of other people. Like, we're self-employed, we're individuals, we fight. There's a lot of... When I say fight, like, we don't fight. Like, we fight all the time. We bicker all the time. Shut up. No, we don't.
No, we don't. You're right, because I'm always right. No, I'm joking. Okay, so, well, I mean, in terms of life, I love love. Like, I love love. I love falling in love. I love, like, the feeling of love. I love love at the start and the intensity of it. And I love how love mellows and matures but deepens. Like, so you have, like, I love the difference between that intense first love and then that deep, like, all-consuming love. I love love. I'm not very romantic though, so, like, I don't really do anything that's romantic. Like, I'm probably not the most considerate person. I don't think I'd really want to be in a relationship with me. Like, I'm just not, like, neither of us are. Like, we looked at each other because it was Valentine's Day, and I was like, I haven't got you a card, and she was like, no, I haven't got you a card, and I was like, oh, thank God. No, but, like, and she was like, Valentine's Day really pisses me off, and I was like, oh, go on, tell me why. And she was like, well, I love you every day. She was like, why do I have to tell you on one particular day? And I was like, no, I know. I would say, like, I don't know, I'm quite intense because, like, I love my friends, I love my patrons, like I am in love with writing, like I love things quite deeply and heavily and intensely, so I think that makes me quite an intense friend for other people. But yeah, like, if you are in my circles and, like, I love you, then you have all of me. So, like, that is a lot. And I think that's probably why I scare so many friends away. Like, I've lost a lot of friends over the years. It's probably because I'm so fucking intense. But yeah, like, I don't know. In life, I would say I definitely love love. And, like, I have loved many people. Like, I have been in love with many people, and I have one person who was the one who got away. And, like, I love all of those experiences that I've had. And of course, like, I love non-traditionally because I'm in love with a woman. And so, that brings a different spin and a different, like, I don't know, what's the word? A different angle. Yeah, just by being diverse, or, like, exposing yourself to diversity, you do think about things differently. And, like, although there are many things that are similar, and, like, many strands of love that are the same, I do think, like, heterosexual relationships are different to non-heterosexual relationships. So, and I've had both, so I should know. And maybe that's just for me. Like, maybe they're not different to other people who are queer. I don't know. But yeah. So anyway, and in terms of writing, I love romance. Like, I feel like I've had a come to Jesus moment with, which is ironic. But it is really, isn't it? Let's be real. Oh God, I'm so un-PC. Anyway, like, I do feel like I've had a bit of a realization. Everybody knows I've had this realization over the last year, but it goes more than that. It's not just that it's the whole, liking queer fiction. I actually like romance. And I don't think I realized quite how much I like romance until possibly the last 4 or 5 months. I feel like that has been an even bigger realization. And I love reading about love. I love shipping characters. I love writing romance. Like the fantasy series that I've got is about soulmates. But the thing that I love about writing about love is that I will probably never write characters who are what's the word, perfect, right? Their relation. And I know that most people don't write characters that are perfect because obviously they need to be flawed, but I will never write perfect relationships. So I like really messy relationships where people fuck up. And I don't just mean a little fuck up. I mean a fuck up that's big enough to make readers uncomfortable, and for people to then question, oh, should they be together? Or because that's real and that's true and that's what we do in real life. And so I remember one of my readers messaging me and being like, I love that they argue and that it's genuine arguments and they're soulmates, but they don't just accept that at face value. You have to work at it. And she was like, you make your characters work for it. And I was like, yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's what I do. And that is never truer than in the last book. I fuck shit for them. And I'm a little bit worried because even though there's a heavy romantic theme in there, I don't think everyone's going to be very happy with me when they read the end of the story, because they make some mistakes that are generally classed as unacceptable. So I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I love the teasing. So I have learned this week in reading The Hating Game. I am a massive flirt. That much I knew. I flirt with everybody. I flirt with friends. I flirt with my wife. I used to flirt with colleagues. And it's completely harmless. My wife, she doesn't give a shit. She knows that. She watches me do it all the time. Because there's nothing there, right? It's just. But here's why I like flirting, because it's a fucking competition. I never realized that. I didn't realize it until I read this book, because they were they are flirting essentially through their games. And I was like, oh, this is why I flirt with people, because it's a fucking game and I want to win, right? It's it's a bit like wooing people, right? I want to win the person. And so I did not know this until just this week. I mean, I knew that I liked flirting, but anyway, now I know why I like flirting. And so I love that in books. I love writing that. I love writing the flirting, the banter, the tension. I love teasing characters and readers and really drawing out and prolonging that moment before they first kiss or the moment before they first bang or whatever. And this book has reminded me of that, because fuck me, was it a slow burn? But it was a slow burn romance, but also it wasn't, because of the intensity of the flirting. And I was just like, oh yes, all of this, yes. As when Harry met Sally, I'm not going to do the impression. I very, very nearly just did the impression. But yeah, so I don't know, but I fucking love love. I love loving people. I love everything about love, and I cannot believe that I didn't realize the connection between writing and that much more. So I am definitely going to be focusing on romance a lot more going forward.
Yeah. Nice.
Also, one last thing. I really like writing sex scenes. And I know loads of people don't, but I love sex. So, like I love writing about sex as well. And like I know so many writers that hate the sex scenes, but for me, they are like the fucking pinnacle of the romantic relationship. And because I love love so much, like, oh, I love a good sex scene. Like, and I've read a few really good sex scenes recently, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I remember everything about, but I love love. Oh, I love the sexy time. I do. I love it.
I do feel like we've joked about it before, but I do feel like we need to do an NLA After Dark.
Oh, maybe that's what we should do for our patrons.
But I think that's partly the reason that I write horror is in my own experience, the Disney love, which is like glorified everywhere, and like I've seen that kind of messaging in books and films and TV actually be harmful to people that I know and care about. I think that's part of the reason I write horror, and if I do write any romantic kind of essence in there, I try to keep it as realistic as possible. So for me, it's never about like it's all about the one, like the gooey romance. Like there are obviously like elements of that because you can't escape that, like flirting and everything else. That's a part of love, and like it's just a part of life.
But the romance that sells is not realistic. This is not realistic.
I know, and then people consume this stuff, and this is a sweeping generalization, so I apologize if I offend anyone, but like people then read and digest all of those books, and then you look over at your partner and just be like, why the fuck aren't you doing this? Because it's fiction. And everything that I've done and everything that I work on and have done in like my own life over the past nearly decade has been in service of grounding myself in reality to better understand what life is or should be.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I have Disney love. I won't lie. Like I know how much my wife loves me, and I love my wife. Like, and it is like I love her every day, and like and that's despite the fact, we don't argue that often, to be honest, but we have had arguments and stuff, but the way I love her and the way that she loves me feels like the dream.
Do you believe in the one?
No.
Cool.
No. I believe there are many ones, because I have loved all of the people that I have been in love with, have felt like the one in that moment, like the one who was meant to be the one right then, like, and I don't believe in the one, because I don't believe that we stay the same. We are different. I am a different person now than the person I was 10 years ago.
Have you ever believed in the one?
I don't know, maybe. I don't know. I don't. I think there are. So here's the interesting thing. The one that got away, if Chloe hadn't come along, I probably would have married him. And my life would be very, very different, because I was eye-wateringly in love with him. And that was one of those sliding doors moments. Do you know what I mean? And it could have so easily gone a different way. And I still know how in love with him I was, because he still feels like the one that got away. That doesn't mean I want him to come back, because I don't. But like, I can see my life having gone in a very different way. And it didn't. And I'm completely okay with that, because God, I love my life, and I love my wife, and I love my son, and I love our family, and I love our love. But like, how can I believe in one when I'm sure I would have had just of a lovely of life as with him as I would have done, as I have got now? Does that make sense? Yeah. So I don't believe in the one. I don't think. I believe there are many ones. But then like the deep romantic in me is like, because I wrote about soulmates. That is what that series is about. And like, not just soulmates for one lifetime, but for every lifetime. So like the romantic in me would love to think that is true, but I just don't like. And also I'm greedy. If I get another life, I want lots of different lovers. No, I'm joking. I am being facetious, but yeah, I just think there are so many sliding doors moments in our lives, right? And our lives can, like, one decision. And this is the funny thing, like me and Chloe have talked about this many times. I nearly went back to him. And so like what happened was we were together, and he basically was going on this lad's holiday, spring break, to Mexico. And he was like, oh, I don't think we should be together. Because we had this weird, like, officially unofficial thing for like 2.5 years. Like, that's how long we dated. And he was like, oh, I don't want to cheat on you. And I was like, so just don't put your dick in someone else. Like, how hard is that? Like, that's not a hard thing not to do. Just don't put your dick in anyone else. And
speaking
anyway,
as
like,
a woman,
yeah. And well, you know, I just don't sit on any other penises. Like, how hard is that? It's not very hard. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
And anyway, and he was like, oh yeah, I don't want to cheat on you. And I was like, right, okay. So anyway, he broke up with me, and I met Chloe that week. And then it was a bit too late. And then he came back, like, he actually phoned me whilst he was away and was like, I think he phoned me, or was it when he got back? Anyway, there was a phone call that was like, I've made a mistake. I'm really sorry, I've made a mistake. And I was like, no. And it was too late. Yeah, he made a mistake. And my God, it was 6 months of groveling and coming back. But like, I met her in that week. And it was too late. I met her, and like, it was this close. Like, we've talked about this, and she was like, I nearly walked away because I could see that you were still in love with him. And I was like, when I first met her, I was still in love with him. And so it took me a little bit longer. Like, she fell in love with me before I fell in love with her, because I was still dealing with that. And yeah, she says that she remembers looking, like, he had like just turned up at that on one of these nights out that he knew I was on. And she was like, I saw the way you looked at him. And she was like, I nearly walked away then. And I was like, I'm so glad you didn't. Because the worst thing was, he was my best mate. Like, and that, for me, it wasn't the relationship ending that hurt. Like, that you can get over. Like, it's, you know, it was the friendship. Because we used to laugh all the time. That's all I remember about our relationship now, is just how much we laughed. And like, the banter and the flirting. And yeah, like, that was what killed me, because the relationships come and go, but I lost my best friend, and he felt like my soulmate best friend.
Yeah.
And that was the oh God, I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed, not for him, not for the sex, not for the relationship, but for our friendship. And because, like, I was one of the lads, and not only did I lose him, I lost my whole group of friends, because I was one of the lads. And that was the hardest breakup, because of the friendship breakup that happened. It's obviously that all the lads sided with him, and then I really doubted myself. Like, do I really know what a friend is? You know, because I was like, what? How can I have lost everybody? Why was nobody there for me? Anyway, this is now getting very deep. But yeah, so like, I don't even know what the point of this was. Oh, soulmates. Do I believe in soulmates? No, I do. No, I believe that we have both friends that are like soulmates in one way, and then, like, I think that whoever you are at the time, there is someone there for you, but that might not be forever. I don't know.
No, one thing that I've come across this week that I'm thinking quite heavily on is this idea of seasonality.
Yes, so, I've had so many conversations about that recently.
Yeah, I listened to it's Cal Newport's podcast. He was talking about slow productivity, which I found massively insightful, because it talks about different ways of working depending on, you know, age and where you're at in your career and energy levels and all this kind of stuff. And like, with this, I do think that there are certain seasonalities that can be applied to romances and love. So like, you can meet people today that 10 years ago you guys would not in any way have connected, have, you know, moved anything with, but, you know, based off life experience and where you're at and how people, as you say, do change, you know, now could be the time that flares, that ignites, that happens. And yeah, I think there's so many complexities to this question. It's a big one. I will say that one of my favorite quotes on sort of the concept of the one comes from Peep Show, and it's where Jeremy, Robert Webb's character, meets a woman across the hall and goes back to his flatmate David Mitchell, Mark, and says, oh, I think she might be the one. And Mark's reply is, isn't it strange that your one happens to live 6 feet away from you across the hall and not in, say, a hut in Mozambique? And I was like, yeah, there are 7.8 billion people on this planet. That's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we've stretched in many directions, Sacha.
I know. Like, I could literally talk about this all day as well, because I find it so fascinating and so interesting, like our relationships with love. But like, and all the varying shades of love. And like, do you know, that's one of my favorite things to read as well, is like found family, like that friendship love.
Yeah.
Like, and like when you have this ragtag group of friends who just adore each other and would do anything for each other. Like, oh yeah, love.
I've got one of my best friends, like me and his family just get on like a house on fire, and like we go over there and we can like drink and eat barbecue and whatever, and it's weird, almost like having a second family you can go to.
What an amazing episode.
So many dimensions.
I know. I think
if we have offended or upset you, please let us know in the comments.
Yeah, so I suppose, well, we have to do our Q1 challenge, don't we? So Dan will dictate 2 novels, launch a survey, write 3 short stories, and launch a new podcast.
I have done 1 novel, surveys in progress, 1 short story done, podcast launched.
Excellent. So I think I have read 1, 2, 3, 4 Sapphic novels. So I've only got 1 left to go.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I have implemented outsourcing. God, I love Becca. If I don't say that enough, like, Becca, I love you. And check 5 things off the new business plan. Definitely way ahead of that now. Yes.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Okay, so audience question of the week is, what is your relationship with romance? And feel free to answer that either about real life or fiction, and writing. And I suppose there's just one thing left to say. Love you, boo.
Love you, Sacha. That sounds so inauthentic.
No. Oh, I think we have a delay.
Oh, no, yeah, it definitely glitched.
I sounded inauthentic.
Yeah.
No, there's a delay.
Okay.
It's because there's a delay.
This is going well. I love you, Sacha.
Again?
Have a good week.
I love you, boo. Have a good week. Bye.
Hungry for more?
If you enjoyed this podcast, you can hear more of my angelic accent and Dan's dulcet tones on our other podcasts.
For more of me, check out the Activated Authors podcast.
For more of me, listen to the Rebel Author podcast. We'll be back next week holding each other to account as Dan
and Sacha
become
Next Level
authors.
She can't hear me now. That's fine, because I can see whatever the fuck I want. I can tell her that she's amazing, that she's a boost, she does all the shit. Or I could say she's an utter fucking loser. And she's going to be clueless, because does she watch she's back? No. That's the magic of podcasting. And particularly when people don't have their headphones in. Because then they have no idea what you're saying. And it's wonderful. Hi, Sacha.